Hi there, it's Kevin with Gonor Games. We're not out in the mountains today, we are at the store because we are going to be busy today because this is the week that everything is going to be coming in. Man, oh man, One Piece, Lorcana, Star Wars Unlimited, Pokemon, Final Fantasy. It is going to be horrible to go through this all and ship it. So we got some shipments here. So I'm just going to open these up. I think this is Lorcana. I think this is what we are dealing with today. Is Lorcana coming in? Maybe Pokemon is going to be in these boxes too, but there's not a lot of Pokemon coming from this distributor. So I highly doubt that's what it is. What else did I order? I can't even remember the things that I ordered from Alliance to get in today. Anyway, we got my my invoice here. Maybe I'll take a gander at it. And today I'm just going to talk a little bit about business and what we have going on. I'm going to focus on, I need to do another one of those videos where I think I'll do it monthly of the barometer, the temperature of the games, how hot I think the games are. Because I think there are some significant updates to where I'd place a lot of the games. Because there has been some movement in things like Union Arena and even in White Schwarz have been moving up. There have been a lot more interest, a lot more sales data as far as on eBay and places like TCG Player for those. And that's actually very surprising because I really thought that Final Fantasy and Destiny Rivals are just going to gobble everything up. But apparently there's enough exiles, enough people that have, that's not the right word I'm looking for, that have, refugees, that's not the right word either. What the word I'm looking for when they quit a game and go to another game. Anyway, that have just had it with Magic and Pokemon. I don't blame people with the scalping that's been going on. And I've seen a big uptick in people trying out other games. So you know what game I'm actually excited for? And maybe you guys can make fun of me. This. So Universes. So Universes is, I mean, this is kind of a dead game as far as like the My Hero Academia. This was overprinted. This was the era, I think this was the third set or fourth set. And this was massively overprinted and it absolutely destroyed their game. But Universes has been picking up some cool IPs, and the IP that I'm super excited for is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that might actually get me to play the game, because if there's anything that's like my childhood and nostalgia, it actually is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I think it'd be fun to play that. Speaking of which, of the secondary games, we are now going to be firing Flesh and Blood and One Piece here at the store, which is actually really cool, because I'm going to bury the hatchet. You guys win. I'm not going to hate on your game anymore. I'm going to support it. Of Flesh and Blood. I still want some changes from LSS. I still want them to just go to normal ways of selling their product without behind any sort of mapping, or they have some shenanigans still going on. And I still think like you have to manage the market, but you can't manipulate the market. And that's one of the things that I think is done poorly from Wizards of the Coast and Pokemon at times, is they manage the market poorly. So it's not like they are actively manipulating, like trying to, sometimes we catch Wizards of the Coast doing these FOMO drops and stuff like that. But often it's the opposite. They print too much, they misread the demand, and their sets crashes because they don't have that grasp on what the market actually wants. What LSS tries to do is they try to manipulate the market through things like price mapping. So where you can't advertise over a certain price. They also do super limits on like what they send distributors. Like again, it's just not, there's a fine line between managing and manipulating, and I think LSS has really tried to cross that line with. And what sucks too is they used to be so transparent about like print runs and exactly where things went and exactly as a store what you'd get. And again, that's kind of been thrown out the window with how they manage their game lately. So again, I want some changes with it. I wish that we'll have to see this set. Is it fully spoiled? Because as I stated before, Flesh and Blood, one of the things that just rubbed me the wrong way is when they keep printing these overpowered generic cards that are best in slot, that then you just feel obligated and they put them at the highest rarity. And it's eventually, I think that decks are just gonna be incredibly stale unless they do some sort of rotation. I hear I need to go read about a change that happened in Flesh and Blood. Comment in the comments section below. So here is what I offer you guys. I'm going to bury the hatchet with Flesh and Blood. I'm going to try it out again. I'm going to try to encourage people to play it here. But I just want people to know that their game isn't infallible. There's things as a store owner that I find incredibly problematic to try to carry the game and try to get people into the game. And I wish that people would actually listen to those concerns rather than just write me off as a, a hater, because I did play Flesh and Blood. I used to enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So tonight, I'm actually going to be building some One Piece. So actually, what deck? So I asked what the worst deck was in One Piece, their starter deck, and this is what I kept hearing, that it's this one. Is this the worst one? The Charlotte? So I actually sleeved up Charlotte, and maybe I'll try some other decks. And we have some One Piece players actually showing up, so I'm probably going to get slaughtered because I don't know how to play, and I'm just going to play a starter deck. But I think this is kind of fun, because one of the things that I am guilty of is oftentimes I get too spiky with new games. So I mean, it's just my competitive personality. I'm a second child with an older brother. I think it's inevitable that we become super competitive with games. I grew up being competitive with my older brother. And so things like when we started playing Pokemon here, I immediately researched and played on Pokemon Online. And by the time it came to playing in the cardboard, I was already miles ahead of all the players that got into Pokemon. And I'd say the same thing with Flesh and Blood. By the time Flesh and Blood, we were actually running events and things, I had already researched, already figured out synergies and stuff like that, and so yeah, end up being a little too combination of skill level and the components of my deck were just too good for all the people trying to tip their toes in the game. So this time I am just going to resist the urge for as long as I can to really spike it up with One Piece and just play a starter deck and get slaughtered and then learn from there. So we'll be playing that later on today. Maybe I'll actually film some footage of One Piece. So exciting things going on. That's one of my goals this summer, is to really revitalize the store. I think Zach and I both got incredibly frustrated because it was like chewing nails trying to get a lot of our players to play anything but Commander, and we got sick of begging, just sick and tired of like, do you guys want to try this? No. And then one of the things I call it the Borg, because we'd get people in to play other things like Pokemon and board games and even like D&D and especially like Standard Magic or Draft, and the Borg would get them. They'd all just collapse on any new players that came in our store and be like, Commander, it's only Commander that gets played here. You have to play Commander. And then the Borg would eventually swallow them, and then we'd have just another Commander player to add to the mix. And Commander's fine. If people enjoy the format, if people enjoy playing Commander, more power to them. I love brewing in Commander. I don't really like playing Commander because just the board states and it's just not my cup of tea. If I'm going to play a multiplayer thing, I'm going to play a board game. I'm not going to play Magic the Gathering, which I think is better off in this like 1v1 environment. That's just my cup of tea here. So yeah, and unfortunately that's kind of what happened with all the other stuff like Lorcana. Like we had some Lorcana players in, they got Commanderfied. I mean, what's a good adjective that we can use to describe what happens to all the people that come in to play anything but Commander at our store. So anyway, that's what I have going on here. Again, going back to Flesh and Blood, I think it will be pretty fun to... Unfortunately, I sold out most of my sealed product. I still have a lot of the singles, but I think that everything's so outdated with Flesh and Blood that I'd have to research exactly what works. I think I still have a Bolton deck like running around here that was pretty upgraded. I think it was, I mean, for its time it was. I'm not even sure what exists now for those type of decks. Anyway, I have rambled forever of what's going on. Just a little store update. But let's go ahead and find a spot for this to record, and I think that's pretty good. And I'll unbox these and show you what we got in today from this distributor. And again, it's going to be crazy here in the next couple weeks. We have a lot of Final Fantasy coming in. As I stated, my main distributor came through, so shout out to them for providing a lot of Final Fantasy. And what I've heard is play boosters are already back in stock. So I need to do a post on Patreon about back ordering things like Commander decks and play boosters. But what I've heard from the distributors, it's coming in waves. Little bit about Final Fantasy, there's some delays. There's delays in, of course, the gift bundle is coming out later, but the collector commanders are coming out later, and partial of the sets and commanders are going to be delayed. So unfortunately, it's just going to be, I'm not going to be able to ship all of it off. That we have orders for, because it's out of my control, and I don't know what that delay is going to look like, maybe a couple days, a week. But what I've heard from the pipeline is play boosters are coming back in full force to distributors from Wizards of the Coast for Final Fantasy, which we all knew was going to happen. I mean, they're still printing these, so all the people that are having this FOMO for things like play boosters and commander decks, stop it. Stop overpaying for these products, because they are going to be printed and printed and printed. And as I mentioned in other videos, this is going to be the kind of a testing point to see how much the market can actually handle Final Fantasy and see if it collapses the rest of Magic the Gathering while everyone just chases Final Fantasy. My prediction, I mean, the commander decks have a lot of value in them, so they're going to be sought after for quite some time, but so do Lord of the Rings. And now if you go back and look at Lord of the Rings decks, they don't have a lot of value in them because they've been opened so many times. So all the, the $10 cards go down to nothing. And if you actually look at Final Fantasy, most of the value is in the new cards for the commander decks. And you got to think all those cards are going to enter into the ecosystem too from collector's boosters, which have a massive printing and are going to be open like crazy immediately for people chasing the chocobos. So yeah, so commander decks and play boosters from Final Fantasy, Courier Jets, they're going to be printed and printed and printed. I think there will be reprints in bundles as well. That's my suspicion. And I would not even be surprised if there might be some reprints in even the gift bundles later down the road when it comes time for Christmas. So that's another thing I was discussing with Zach, though, that is different from this market compared to the Lord of the Rings market, is Final Fantasy is actually just replacing a standard set. It's not like a Universes Beyond on top of, and what was the standard set at that time? Was it March of Machines? I can't remember what was released the same time. Brothers War, New Phyrexia, or Friction All Be One, and March of Machines were around the same time as Lord of the Rings. And so it wasn't like, there is less product, and which is good, because I think the market, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh man, can we actually handle another commander deck? Because I was looking at things like Rejuvenating Springs, I believe is being reprinted again in one of the commander decks. I'm like, geez, they are putting some powerful lands in these commander decks that are already have been printed, like Doctor Who. And if you've seen things like the Canopy Vistas, and what do they call them, the check lands, or the from Zendikar, not the check land. I mean, the check lands are getting reprinted like crazy in these commander decks, but the mana base too is like, man, this is a premium commander again. So it's like in the scope of like the Warhammers and the Lord of the Rings, where they don't skimp on the mana base. So they have some like $3, $4, $5 cards that they've included that I think are going to go down to $1 or $2. So I think this is kind of going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a lot of that supply, because of just of how expensive the Final Fantasy cards are in the commander deck. So we're going to see a lot of like market adjusting for those, and it'll be interesting to see how, if the market actually does like this product long term, if it does collapse in value, is it going to get people to continue to purchase and purchase and purchase? Because so far, looking at the spoilers and everything, there's some neat cards, but it's a very commander-centric set, and I don't think it has any powerhouses to the level that like Lord of the Rings does. If you actually look at Lord of the Rings, there are very few cards that are worth anything out of Lord of the Rings because of how much it was opened. So, I mean, these are just tier cards like Orcish Bowmasters and the One Ring that have just been, they were put in so many modern decks and so many commander decks as soon as it came out that, it just devalued the rest of the set. So, man, I have rambled. Let's go ahead and see what we got in. These don't feel like these are the heaviest boxes, or maybe I'm just super buff, as I actually know it slams the ground with a bang. So, alrighty, I guess I could have just looked at my invoice. Okay, so this is going to be some Destined Rivals. So, again, unfortunately, Destined Rivals is something that is not going to be in high supply. I'm going to have some upset patrons, I just know right off the bat. And this is another thing too. If you got allocated a collector booster from Final Fantasy, your Destined Rivals numbers are probably not going to be... I'm going to allocate people that didn't get Final Fantasy collector boosters or big hits from Final Fantasy. I'm going to allocate the Destined Rivals to patrons that got cut, or they just didn't order Magic the Gathering. So that's the way we kind of spread it around. I know that will upset some of you, but you got a Final Fantasy collector booster. Come on, like it's. Ooh, look, there's an upside down pack in this product. So this is what I love. Do you like my allocations for the 3-packs? The 3-packs I put in for cases of these, by the way, and I get 2 lonely, just loose ones. 2 lonely loose 3-pack. What do they call these, booster packs? So on here, let's see the numbers from these. We have Evolution bundles. I get 12 of them. We got the 2 3-pack boosters. I get 6 booster boxes, 8 elite trainers, and 1 battle deck. So I mean, there's my allocations for putting in hundreds of each of these from this distributor. And yes, we have been ordering, before people accuse us, we have been ordering Pokemon for many sets now. I mean, it's been since the beginning of Scarlet and Violet, we've been consistently ordering Pokemon and putting in for as much as possible. So it's like, one of the criticisms I got in my last video is like, well, you just don't spend as much with distributors. I'm like, how? How in the world can I spend with distributors when I put in for max, I ask them constantly. As I stated, I took things like the Innistrad remastered collector boosters when they bottomed out and distributors wanted to find a home for them. I took the Aether Drift collectors, same thing. I took a person canceled order, and I've been taking Pokemon nonstop. Anything they offer me, I take it. And so maybe I need more be aggressive with it, but that's just kind of the reality of what's going on when you get these accusations of, well, the big problem though is like, at what point do people consider like a big chunk of money? Yeah, I don't have $1 million to throw around at this stuff, but I am trying to build up my numbers. And comparatively speaking, I still think that stores per dollar spend are getting a lot less percentage-wise than some of these big names that are just chucking, you know, millions of dollars at things. And eventually, like this is, first of all, my last video got a lot of undeserved criticism in my opinion, because there was one person that particularly kept commenting that I was going after streamers and people that were just trying to make a living. And I'm like, no, that was not the point of my video. My point of the video is they should not have access to distribution, that they should have to find other ways. They can go scalp at Costco. They can make deals with LGSs. They can, but the whole point to a distributor is to distribute product to stores, brick and mortars that are actually putting things on shelves and acting like a sales force. A person that just sits and drop ships, basically, you know, takes one step of like, okay, I order this from a distributor, just sits here and then immediately goes. That is miles away from like actually running a brick and mortar store and face-to-face interacting with people and doing tournaments and events and trying to facilitate the games, because these are trading card games. That's what I still want to even say about Pokemon, is Pokemon is still like the second most played game after Magic the Gathering. It is huge. It's just been overshadowed by the collectibles aspect. But Pokemon realizes that they do need, like, what I think saved Pokemon was the player base during Scarlet and Violet, when the entire collector base was like, screw this, these are ugly cards, there's no point to collecting these. They were gone. And it was the player base that, I believe it's up to Paradox Rift, that they had the most players of all time for Pokemon, that it was just super robust, that their nationals and their regionals and their local scene store attendance was higher than ever. And now we've gone back into like a collector's market, and I think that's kind of pushed players away. It's like Pokemon has a hard time of figuring out how they can balance that, where they don't take off the players and still and make it accessible for players, and still are able to have this like huge appetite for the collector's aspect of it. So yeah, Pokemon, hoping they can figure out a good little balance for that. All right, we've already opened these boxes here. So again, I think this must be 2 orders here, because this does not seem like it is big enough to carry only 8 booster boxes of. And I already saw there's a case of them in there for Destined Rivals, and there's all the booster bundles. So yeah, so there's got to be, this has to be another order that's been lagging behind. So I'm thinking, yeah, so it's Lorcana. So we have Lorcana in, and unfortunately I haven't even like got numbers out for Lorcana yet, because I've just been so backed up. But we got Jafar, and these ship out a little bit later because of the street date for Lorcana. So yeah, if you have ordered these will come out a little bit later for Lorcana to keep in good terms. If you are local though, you can come pick it up. And yeah, this is all going to be good old Lorcana, which is a game too that I am willing to play. I know that Burrito, my buddy that lives up north, he comes down and plays Lorcana every release, and we get in what we do is we open up since there's like 3 of us that like to play together, we open up a full booster box, and then we draft the colors. So first person that wins the die roll gets first pick of the color they want, and then second player gets a pick, and then third player picks 2, and then second player picks 1, and then the first player gets the last one again. And then you just make a deck out of the colors, and it actually works really cool. It's a really cool format, and they just play each other one time, and then, you know, whatever. So it's kind of fun if you want to try like a sealed format with 3 players from Lorcana. So, all right, there's our here's our one little rival battle deck that we get, which again, do these even have packs in them? So usually these aren't even like But you can see that's what's crazy about Pokemon is like even these suckers are being allocated like crazy. Battle decks? I mean, there's been times where these have been thrown in. I remember with Magazine Exchange one time, they were like throwing battle decks in with every purchase of like booster boxes. They'd like throw in like 6 of them because they're just trying to get rid of them. There was one time I was kicking myself that they had the Mew battle decks for a huge blowout, and I didn't move on them. And then I looked up the price on Limitless, and you could actually like break down the Mews because it was in such a high demand for both the, what do they even call it, standard, or the current standard format, and then the rotated format. We're both using Mews. And so eventually, you know, the demand from just players would outstrip the supply of those. And they did go up, and I just was kicking myself because they were so cheap. It was like $4 for a battle deck. It was insane and those are like the premium ones. Alrighty, so this is going to be more of the Destin's Rivals. These are kind of cool looking boxes though. I do like the black on the red for the Destined Rivals. And again, I haven't been able to do numbers for Destined Rivals because I absolutely cannot trust distributors, because I have been cut last minute or had things missing for Pokemon so many times that I don't want to promise something that I can't send people. So once everything starts to come in from all of the distributors, I will be getting together my numbers and we will be allocating them out. But just a little bit of a forewarning, it is going to be incredibly low to patrons. As you can see, 8 booster boxes from one distributor, 3 booster boxes from another distributor is not enough to go around for people. I need some for the store. This is just the reality of it. I hope I've laid it out on my terms for my Patreon that you know, you should be trying to find value in everyday orders, which sucks if you are a Pokemon fan because there isn't a such thing as everyday orders, but just stick with it. The market will figure itself out, and I'm thinking that we will be headed some times where there'll be a lot of opportunity. In fact, I think that cold markets are actually just as good for being part of these types of services as hot markets are, because you can actually get some screaming deals. Like I know a lot of people made a ton of money off of Baldur's Gate Commander decks when they were blown out, Strixhaven when it was super cheap, Baldur's Collectors. There are plenty of things that if people would have moved on them, they'd have a pretty penny at this point. All right, I think this is gonna be Destined Rivals as well from another distributor that I think this one is insanely low. And yeah, again, frustrating, but it is what it is. And we'll try to slowly but surely build our numbers up. So yeah, this is gonna have just a tiny bit of Pokemon. We get a whopping 3 booster boxes and 5 ETBs and nothing else. No battle decks, no loose packs, nothing. So yeah, ouch, that one hurts for sure. And yeah, the prices on these are pretty crappy too. Like paying like over $100 a booster box after fees for Destined Rivals. And yeah, ETBs, same thing. Like the spread on ETBs is rough. Like paying over like 32 per ETB when they're supposed to MSRP for 50. Like those are some pretty rough margins to begin with stores. So I know MSRP is probably pointless right now for Destined Rivals, but as a manufacturer and a distributor, I mean, those are kind of the numbers that you're trying to work with. Like stores should be looking for some significant markups of at least like 40-50% markups is what you want to be having with a store for sure. All right, what do we else got in here? We got some MetaZoo. I'm actually surprised at how much this is selling. I apologize, guys. I've been trying to get the cases that come with like the guaranteed red, and I don't know what distributors are doing with these because they always get purple ones. So they've been capping me at 6, and I believe it come in a pack of 12, right, for a case of these, and one's supposed to be the guaranteed collector one. And I've ordered this multiple times because I'm capped at 6, and I only get these purple ones, which is frustrating again. So maybe they're giving them random out to stores, but I doubt it. I bet they're being resold. Like aren't those the ones that are actually going for a pretty penny? Yeah, so that's going to be more of the Destined Rivals, and I believe this is going to be all Lorcana in here. So yeah, Lorcana is a bit bulky. Yep, this is all going to be Lorcana. So apparently there's 1 Slashing Legends tin in here too. One singular, not plural. 1 Slashing Legends tin in this. So anyway, I'm going to get this going because I got a lot to ship off and talk to people about their numbers. So we got a busy day here, and hopefully I can find some time, like I said, to play some One Piece and check it out and see how well it's going. So appreciate everyone that stuck around this channel. If there's something specific you want to hear or see, let us know in the comment section below. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what works with this channel, what doesn't. I think that kind of the daily vlogs is where, you know, it's going to be with this channel until I can figure out some other things that might be, you know, worthwhile to post. If you are looking for other content, though, I have been busy at work. We actually posted up a deck on Rogue Deck Builder, first time in months. So go check it out. I'm going to have a rant video up on that channel as well today, talking about the cards that I can't stand in Standard, because I always love a good rant video for Magic the Gathering as far as how design is concerned. And again, we'll try to get some content up on the Rogue, the Rogue market. Want to be picking. There's been a lot of cards as Zach comes in my interrupt my video. He just got to be in it. What are you stealing? Price packs?
Yes.
Where was I going with my thought? Oh, there have been some cards from Final Fantasy that have been spiking, and I didn't move ahead. I need to get back to Rogue market because they were such duck cards. They're from the dude that's like the Spell Slinger, and he can add mana. And there's like Ophidion's Eye, and there's Quicksilver Elemental that have just gone through the roof. And we were looking at them a week ago, like, okay, we got to get this video out, and we never did. So I'm kicking myself with that, but I think there's a lot of cards that are still worthwhile to pick up. And some of them are from as soon as Bloomburrow. Like, I actually think the Bloomburrow starter deck is actually pretty good right now because it's having a lot of demand for that deck. Anyway, yeah, that's everything now as I'm 26 minutes in. I appreciate all the comments and support. Like I said, we've had some rough videos with a lot of people that are, you know, and I get it, I'm controversial, I like to butt heads. I am very opinionated with where I think the business should go or this market should go. And I'm gonna fight for what I believe is healthy for the game. And I'm gonna fight tooth and nail for local game stores. Even if I didn't run a local game store, I would still, you know, I've seen the writing on the wall when these things are, like you've seen it with other industries too. When Main Street fails, it does have an impact. And especially things that need to be touched and played in person. Like those things are like imagine, would there be any market for bowling balls at bowling alleys? I mean, probably a bad analogy because that's such an 80s thing. But anyway, that's where I'm going with this. Yeah, we'll take a look at good old Buttons. He's aboard the boy. Say, take me for a walk. That's all I want to do is go for walks and chase cars. Thanks for watching.